I'm Stephanie Lenko. I'm one of the team leads and health educators for a positive approach to teen health. I know it says Donna Golub in there. She is not with us today. She is doing a Hill Day for Suicide Awareness down in Indianapolis. If you could go ahead and put your name, where you're from, and what you do in the chat box, that would be great. Today we have Lisa Rafferty with us. She has been working with youth for 25 plus years. And she is going to be talking to us today about healthy versus unhealthy relationships in teens. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to her and let her introduce herself fully.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me? Stephanie, are we good? So I just want to welcome you here today. So grateful to be here with you all for one of past amazing lunch table segments. And I'm looking through and seeing everyone coming on here, really giving a big piece of their life to helping teenagers and helping young people and giving them the tools they need to be equipped to step into adulthood successfully. So I just, first of all, want to thank Pat for inviting me to join you all today. I so appreciate can we give some virtual kudos to Donna Golub for the amazing work that Path is doing to really change a generation, strengthen it, and equip them to succeed at the next level. So we're so grateful for you, Donna. I know that you're actually advocating for teens right now. So you aren't here, you're working with state legislators, but we so appreciate what you do and your entire team. So kudos to the Path team. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here and hosting today and making this possible for us all to get together and just talk about some important things to encourage us as we help encourage teens. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to have to add these now because sadly I need them. And then we can get started here.
Real quick, I'm going to interrupt just so everyone knows our layout here. Lisa's going to give her presentation and talk about healthy and unhealthy relationships. And then we're going to, while we have our lunch, I'll put everybody into breakout rooms. We'll have some discussion questions, and then you'll get about 20-30 minutes for that. And then we will come back and review and discuss together. So we will be on here until 12:30, 1 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen at this time. All right, Stephanie, how does that look? Are we good to go?
That looks great. We're good. We can see everything.
Okay, great. Well, just to introduce myself a little bit, I've had the privilege of knowing Donna for many, many years. We've just a dear friend, and I'm so grateful for having her in my life for so many years because I've been in education for about 30. So I'm giving away a little bit of my age, but I first started out as a public high school teacher. And then through the years, I have had the privilege to work with teens, whether it was public school, private school. I've been part of the homeschooling community, so part of co-ops and charter schools. And most recently, in the last 2 years, I was able to come on to an academy and help with their programming and be a teacher manager. So it's so fun to be back into a little more structured formal school setting, which I love. I did that for a year and a half and just segued out while all that time raising 4 kids of my own with my husband and doing a bunch of businesses. We actually had an interesting season of moving out to San Diego and starting an after-school program for kids that live in restricted income housing and showing up for them every day for 5 years and just seeing that side of education, the after-school opportunities and things we can create for young people. So that was a delight. We did that for 5 years. And so between education and business, just been a whole whirlwind with our 4 kids who are now, let's see, our oldest is almost 24 and our youngest is 17. So just know I'm absolutely in the throes of the teen universe, just like you are. And so today, Donna asked if I would share a little bit about healthy relationships and how to empower teens to value, recognize, and experience them. Because our jobs as mentors, whether we're parents or I saw so many of us here are mentors, we're the frontline staff working with teens in the education world. Our job's to just prep and equip our young people to step into adulthood successfully. And what does that mean? It means that they're equipped to live meaningful, purposeful, forward-moving lives in community with others so that they can move successfully into that next stage, that next season of adulthood with a solid understanding of life's dynamics. I think a lot of times kids get blindsided because they really don't know certain things that would actually set them up to succeed at the next level. And then, of course, we want to give them competence. We want to give them, they're good at things, they have some skills, and they're able to grow into even more and step in with confidence to this next level. So if I were to ask a young person, what is the most important decision you'll ever make in life? What do you think they would answer? You guys work with teens all the time. If you say, like, what's the most important decision you'll ever make? Chances are they're going to answer my career, right? Because that's probably the most often asked question they get. People are always asking them, what do you want to be? What are you doing after high school? What do you want to study? What kind of job do you want to have? What career are you going to pursue? So the focus is very much on career, as it should be. But how many of us know that while it's incredibly important, the choice of your career in life often changes? So if I asked, if we had like a virtual hand raising right now, and if I asked how many of you started on a different career path than you ended up on, I'd be interested to see how many of our hands are up. Because goodness knows, I actually picked my university because I wanted to do business. And so I picked my University of Business. By the end of my first semester, I was already transferred to a different major. So I was Spanish education, totally different. And through the years, all the ways that has morphed into different things and different ventures and businesses and all the like. So, absolutely career is important, but what's a more even critical, if we were to ask them, okay, yep, career is important, but what's an even more critical part of your life that can either bring out the gold in you and absolutely support you to soar, or could cause the most pain in your life, and even, depending on choices, derail a great future for you? So we all know, yep, it's relationships, right? How many have seen really kids on track get off track from the wrong friends, from friends who are just struggling with their own stuff? They don't have any more knowledge than you do. Your peers don't know more than you do. And so suddenly you find yourself in a bad space or going in the wrong direction, right? Relationships really matter. And a great relationship can actually get you closer to your dreams. But a toxic one can completely pull you off course in a hurry. So, as adults here today who've lived for a moment, I think we can agree that healthy relationships, like healthy ones, boy, they're really the best part of life. They really are. And people often remind workaholics, right? Like, you're not going to be in your deathbed wishing, oh, if I'd only logged in more work hours, if I'd built my career better, right? But they could very well be wishing that they had spent more quality time with their loved ones. So healthy relationships kind of make all the hard parts of life worth it. Nothing is better than being seen, heard, understood, accepted, valued, loved. I mean, that's the gold right there, right? But an unhealthy relationship can sap your strength. It can get you off track fast. We all know these things, right? And so relationships, they can span a large group of people. We could list them all, right? Family, friends, different associations that we have. It's a huge group of people. And so it's really critical that our teens are learning interpersonal skills. They're learning how to look people in the eye, how to connect, how to initiate and actually sustain an engaging conversation, how to use body language intentionally, how to read other people's body language, how to be present in the moment when you're communicating. So those skills are so important, but in today's culture, this is often lacking. How many of us know teenagers who do not look adults in the eye, right? Who do not initiate a conversation or can't sustain one. Maybe they seem really uncomfortable or they just give a one-word answer. They don't consider their body language. So they're talking to you kind of like this, and they're not thinking about what they're really saying to you with their eye rolls. So, they often miss what's happening in the moment because they're on their devices. So interpersonal skills is just a huge area that we get to mentor teens. What you do is so important because for a lot of kids, it's really lacking. because of course we're going to blame the thing that really is a big dynamic, and that's media, and particularly social media, right? I mean, they have taken so much of our teens' time and attention, kind of pulling them into this virtual world and away from the real world with real people and live interactions. And in that virtual world, a lot of times it's highlighting relationships, it's modeling relationships, but oftentimes they are presented in either inaccurate ways or unhealthy ways. So oftentimes with relationships with parents, we see that a lot, that there's a lot of respect and honor that's sacrificed for the sake of humor. So to be funny, they kind of make fun of things that really aren't that funny. And our teens are watching these things and thinking that certain ways of treating their parents or treating their teachers or treating mentors in their lives or adults in general or elderly people or whatever the case may be, they think that it's funny and it's okay. Or maybe that's just normal. Like that's how it is. Oh, if we look back at this where, here's the memes, right? All the memes where the parents like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do that? And teens like, everyone thinks that's hilarious, but is it really hilarious to treat someone like that? No, it really isn't. It's not healthy. And similarly, there's so much content online telling teenagers what a romantic relationship is. What does it look like? What should it be? I mean, they've got like all these Instagram beautiful, like, I'm telling you, the amount of pressure on young people now. How many of you had like a proposal for prom? If you're in my generation, we're like, wait, what? We were just super happy when someone, hey, you want to go? And we're like, yes. Or they asked you in a nice way, or they maybe sent you a card or something. But, now they have so much pressure. Like you have to have a proposal and it better be good. And it better have posters or flowers or maybe even it needs to be videoed so they can put it on Instagram. So like the pressure, the unrealistic, honest expectations of what a romantic relationship should be like, and then functioning in that, what it looks like, things that you're ready for or not ready for at a certain age. A lot of things are told to these young people and they believe it, even though it's actually not healthy. So while we need to mentor teens on all relational skills, today we're going to focus on romantic relationships. We're going to focus on what is healthy and our need as mentors, whether we're parents on here today, whether we're that frontline staff working with teens, to kind of help set their understanding about what a healthy relationship is and what it is not, so they can recognize the difference. So they're equipped to actually see what's healthy, see what's not, and then choose for themselves a healthy relationship. That's the beauty, right? That's the biggest key that we have to help them see as mentors. We have to help them see that actually the choice is yours. You are growing into years where you're growing into independence and you get to choose who you share your life with, particularly when you're an adult, right? While you live with your parents, you're going to honor that dynamic. But ultimately, we want you to have a clear and solid understanding what healthy looks like so that you choose it for yourself. They see it benefits them, they choose it. And people all the time find themselves in unhealthy relationships. And oftentimes they're either unaware of what healthy looks like, so they just continue with unhealthy dynamics, or they're aware, they know their dynamics are unhealthy. They just don't know how to change them. And they don't know how to end the relationship if that's needed. So we have the opportunity to mentor these teenagers now, before they enter relationships, hopefully, or if they're in them, to help coach them through them so that they can choose things with wisdom and intention. A lot of times kids are just reacting to life and not being intentional to direct their lives. And that's what we get to coach them to do, to take ownership and make choices, not just react to things. And so they don't just simply find themselves. I find myself in a bad relationship. They can actually think ahead before entering one, or if they're already in a relationship, they can gain some wisdom and they can redirect if needed. So let's set up our teens to win with 5 areas in which we as mentors can set their understanding. It's so important as early as possible. If we can set understanding, then there's a lot of problems that are avoided because they knew ahead of time, right? So important. But I always want to say at any time we coach and mentor teens, if they find themselves in a mess, okay, we're there to help them navigate it. If possible, however, getting ahead is always really helpful, right? So the 5 areas we're going to talk about are One, big picture dynamics of a romantic relationship, what a healthy relationship looks like, what an unhealthy relationship looks like, how to avoid an unhealthy relationship, and how to exit an unhealthy relationship. Okay. So we're going to start with the first thing. And the first thing is to set understanding around big picture dynamics. The big picture helps without jumping into the minutia. Here's what bad looks like or unhealthy looks like. First, let's back up and just talk about some big picture dynamics with romantic relationships. Like our kids really, our teens, they need like relationship 101. They don't know. And sometimes we've lived life so long, things that are so normal to us. Obviously, we know this. Isn't that obvious to our teens? Like how many we know, like their brains aren't developed yet. They're still in process. And so they don't know what a 45-year-old knows. And so it really is our job to kind of think ahead on, that's right. I'm kind of starting from the bottom floor, like relationship 101, and then building from there and making sure they get these big picture dynamics, right? And it's always good as we mentor, one of the best strategies we can use is asking good questions. How many know your teenager that you're mentoring has more buy-in when they weren't lectured to? So most, giving a lecture tends, they only have, society's not really helping us with cultivating really great attention spans. So you have like this much time to get their attention. But if you are asking questions, now they're engaged in the conversation and they feel engaged in the solution. So when you're drawing out of them critical thinking skills, like, okay, well, I see what's happening here, but what do you think about this? Or why do you think this? It helps them actually process. So you might have the answer. We should have the answers. We're the adults. We're all growing and learning still, but we have things we want them to know, but it's better if we can use questions to pull it out of them, that they go, oh, that actually makes sense, because it'll stick so much better than us just running through some information and they're literally thinking about hanging out with their friends later. So ask good questions. And a good place to start is to ask them, hey, what do you think your teenage years are for? Like, what do you think being a teenager, like, what is it honestly all about? What are these years? What is their purpose? And, it'll be interesting to see what they say, what they come up with, and you can build off of that. But the answers, hopefully that's it. Actually, this is supposed to prepare me to successfully become an adult, step into adulthood, right? And the teenagers, that's what they are, right? They're a bridge between being a child and being an adult. It's the bridge to give them some skills, some understanding, more levels of maturity, more levels of responsibility. So they don't just go from a child to an adult, that they kind of need that bridge while they're being coached by great mentors, by their parents and people who love them, that are building things in them. So when they hit 18, they really are ready to step into whatever next season that is as an adult and to do it successfully. So it's our job as mentors to remind our teens that, actually these teenage years, this bridge, it's a gift. It is a gift. This is the one time in your life you get to focus so intentionally on yourself, on who you want to be, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. So it's our job to remind them that that is their job. Like them focusing on themselves with intention is really their job as well. We're here to coach them, but they get to start owning it in a different way. And so we get to ask them, like, how do you see these years as a gift? And then things that are going to come up, or we can make sure we bring up, is this is your time to get an education, explore your interests. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you want to spend your time on? You can develop your talents, develop your skills. When else are you going to have hours to be able to work on a sport? How many of you played sports? And how many of you realize now what a gift it was? I had the privilege of playing tennis in high school and college. And I look back now and go, oh my gosh, I got to do something I loved for hours every day. Like, it's a gift, and you can develop something really meaningful. You get to develop your critical thinking skills so that you're ready to successfully adult. You get to enjoy real life experiences that build you, like going to camps, traveling, doing internships, doing community service, and kind of seeing how you can contribute. You're going from being just a taker as a little child, and then you're becoming a contributor. You're becoming someone who gives into society, right? Increasing your responsibility. You're learning how to babysit and watch other people's treasure, their children, drive, work, whatever. You're building friendships. Actually, teenagers is a great time to learn how to get along with people, to learn how to value people, to learn how to treat people. Like, this is your bridge. This is important. If you don't learn this, you could lose a job over this. If you don't learn this, you could have a lot of heartache in an unhealthy relationship. Like, these years matter, and friendships are fun. It doesn't have to be pressure right now. You can just enjoy getting those skills. And then learning how to be, children are very self-centered. And so you're bridging it to where you're not so self-centered anymore. And you're actually finding a purpose, right? You're finding a purpose. In other words, the world doesn't center just around me. How can I meet a need and make the world a better place? Because that's actually where fulfillment comes from. Not me, but how can I actually be productive and purposeful? And this is your time to dream about the future and strategize what action steps are going to get me there, and what can I start doing now to live the future I want to live. So these big picture dynamics, as you're talking through that, you can make the point that, adding a romantic relationship into these teenage years, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And which years are you in? Are you in 13-year-old years? Is adding a romantic relationship, is it going to move me closer to my goals? Or is it going to distract me and move me farther from my goals? And, 13 is different than 15, which is different than 17, which is very different from 19 when you're actually an adult. So kind of asking them questions like, why do you want this relationship? Why do you want this? And is it fitting into the bridge concept, getting where you need to go? So kind of building a framework. So when you talk about relationships, they have something to stand on. That's more than just, he's so cute and I love attention, because those are real. Absolutely. But it's not the only dynamic that's at play, right? And so I recommend talking to your teen that you're mentoring and saying, okay, why do teens want to date? Let's talk about it. Why are romantic relationships such a thing, right? Because it is natural in these years to start wanting emotional and even physical closeness with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and, having someone to spend time with, sharing your hobbies, interests, fun activities. Like, it is special. It's great companionship. It's fun. And it's fun to have a boyfriend. It's fun to have a girlfriend. It's great to have a best friend that you're sharing your inner world with. It's very empowering. Having someone to care about you, to check on you, text you, show you attention, say nice things to you, words of affirmation, appreciation. I mean, it does fill our internal love tank. That's a real thing. Having a boyfriend or girlfriend a lot of times makes teens feel grown up. They're like, wow, I'm so grown up. I have a boyfriend. I have a girlfriend. And, obviously the physical, like holding someone's hand and kissing, exciting. Like, wow, you really feel grown up. It's exciting. It can be comforting. I mean, those are real dynamics. A dating relationship can lead to something really wonderful long-term. It could lead to a marriage, could lead to something really great. So I think teenagers kind of have that, like, I'm going to find the one, And I remember literally being 14 and, committing, I'm going to wait for the right person. And literally the next day, like, so where is he? Like, I'm waiting, and I'm 14, but I felt ready. And that's what our teenagers, that's where their brains are in their development. They feel so ready for things that we as adults look and go, actually, you're not really ready to give into a romantic relationship has real dynamics. And so, but they feel so ready. So we're there to kind of coach them and let them think through it, and then help them see whether they truly are ready at different stages of their life for different dynamics. And so also discuss, okay, well, why do some teens choose not to date? Not everybody chooses to date. Why would people not date, right? Well, a quality relationship takes time and effort. It really does. And so sometimes some teens are like, yeah, I got too much going on. Like, I don't have time for that. Maybe they have goals that they're concerned that dating is going to give them off track. Like, nope, I don't want to get in a relationship because I'm going to go off to college. I'd rather meet someone there. So yeah, I don't have time for that, right? Sometimes teens are like, honestly, I think I'm just more in love with love. And there's not really a great person that I'm interested in. I think I just really like the idea of it more than a certain person I want to build it with. Maybe they don't feel ready. Like, yeah, I'm not ready yet. Or there's no one that interests them. Like I said, there's nobody I want to date. So I'm going to wait until there actually is. Or maybe they're honoring their parents' wishes or their guardians. Maybe their parents don't approve. And so they're like, well, I didn't get permission. I'm going to focus on other things. So, your teen's probably going to come up with ones you didn't think of. It's kind of fun to see what they come up with. Teens are so creative, and they actually come up with a lot of great stuff. And we all love teens. That's why we're actually in the spheres that we're in. But, you can focus in also on the ones that you definitely do want them to consider. So then at some point, parents are hit with this question like, okay, when can I start dating? And they're probably hoping the answer is like now. And if you're an educational mentor on this call, no doubt parents are going to be asking you, hey, when do you think I should start letting my teen date? So we're all getting this question no matter what involvement we have in teens' lives. And so here's just some thoughts that I have around this topic, because most parents are like, the kids are 13, are like, when can I date? And so the parent will give a knee-jerk reaction, kind of like, when you're 16, they'll just throw out an arbitrary number that sounds good in that moment, right? And when they're 13, 16 sounds really far away. So throw out a number. But what do you know is happening, right? That young person is absolutely thinking, I can't wait till I'm 16. I can't wait till I'm 16. And come hell or high water, when they're 16, they're going to find somebody to date. I mean, potentially, right? And heaven forbid, we don't want them just looking for any warm body so they can have this exciting experience, because we realize bigger dynamics here. So what if we took a different approach and we actually base it upon their development? So we say, okay, let's talk about what a healthy relationship looks like. Let's talk about what dating dynamics and a healthy dating scenario is. So let's talk about all that, so we kind of get what we're aiming for here. And then say, so I will base this on, obviously I really think you need to be not 13 or 14. Okay. But as you grow and develop, I will look at your maturity level and your ability to responsibly handle a dating relationship. The best thing we can do as mentors is constantly reinforce that we love them. We want the best for them. And we actually want them to grow up. We want them, as is appropriate for their stage of life and level of maturity, we want them to experience more and more grown-up things. We want them to be able to shoulder adulthood well. And so we're not trying to hold them back. Like, it actually helps me for you to get your license. I am not hoping you don't get your license and I have to drive you around. I want you to get into new areas of responsibility. However, I want to make sure you can handle that. So when you're 13, you're not going to drive the car. That's not legal, and you're not ready. And the same thing with dating, right? So when you're at the level that you could responsibly handle, and it would be a blessing to your life, it would be something actually positive and great in your life to have a romantic relationship, then great. I'm open to it. We'll talk about it then. But there's a second dynamic that needs to happen as well. And that's like, a great young person's got to be in the mix. So it's not just dating anybody. It's, if there's a real quality person that comes into your world and you have these other dynamics, then great. We're going to talk about it. And more than likely, I'm going to allow you to enter a dating relationship. So what is beautiful about this is it kind of puts the responsibility squarely on the teen to kind of own their development. So, hey, if I were you, I would just work on being as mature as you can and grow. And as life happens, good things are coming, and we'll look at it at that specific time. So it's more in their control than just some arbitrary number. And it just sets them up to win by having them focus on the right dynamics from the very start. So when we're doing big picture dynamics, I just want to encourage you as a mentor to not skip the whys, right? If you're in business in any capacity, they talk about, if you explain whys to your team, you get bigger buy-in. And it's the same, very well, working with teens. When they get the why, you get a better buy-in. And, some parents and mentors will delay beneficial discussions and not provide the whys, because I said so. Sometimes I think we've all said it if we're a parent, because we don't have time to break it down to the minutia in certain moments. But overall, when it comes to really important topics, it's so important to explain the whys, because if they get the why, they're more likely to choose it for themselves when you're not looking. And that's our goal, right? We cannot follow our teens around that we love 24 hours, making sure they make the right choices. We try to instill in them the reasons why to make them, that they make it for themselves, because it's actually the best choice for them, right? And so if we neglect to explain big picture dynamics, they're kind of left with not a lot of reason to do the right thing necessarily. And so sometimes parents will just provide a blanket statement or rule, and not really explain the why. And so I want to give an example, because when you're talking about romantic relationships, what's like one of the scariest topics for any parent is sex, right? Like, oh, well, and some parents are just like, that's an uncomfortable topic for me. I don't really want to break it down. I just want to tell them what it is and move on. And so a parent might desire her teen to abstain from premarital sex. And so she just simply states, hey, sex is bad. Don't do it till you're an adult, thinking that that's going to take care of the situation, right? Well, the problem is that many times, actually, even a compliant teen who's heard sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad for years, that person cannot easily flip the switch to sex is good when she's a mature adult, right? So while the parent's strategy might have kept their teen abstinent, it built a disconnect in her, right? Something that's actually unhealthy in her, something that negatively impacted her sexual relationship later when she was married, because she just couldn't flip that switch, right? So I recommend a direct approach always, as much as possible, of just communicating big picture concepts about sex. Like, why would parents not want their teens to have sex? Like, there's reasons. We're not killjoys. We actually realize sexual dynamics that are important for you to realize so that you can choose wisely, right? So the parent can explain, actually, sex is good. Sex is good, but it's good when it's experienced in the right context. So it's good, but only in the right context, right? So it's good when it's experienced between two mature, loving, consenting adults who are committed to one another. Now, our family is a family of faith, so we frame that within marriage. So in that context, sex is very good. Great. But that's an important delineation, right? It's important to break it down to that level, because in the right context, sex is healthy and it's good. So the parent can explain to their teen, sex can be a healthy part of your adult life one day. Notice I said adult. Okay. So just as importantly, you got to explain the converse, right? The flip side, that there are times when sex can be not good. It can be not healthy when it's experienced in a negative context, right? So when it's experienced by people who are not mature enough to handle a sexual relationship, namely minors, right? Sex is not good when it's part of hookup culture that really doesn't care about the other person. A lot of times they're not even disclosing they have sexual transmitted diseases. And so this hookup culture, they're just spreading it one person to another. Like that, in that context, sex is not good. That is not benefiting the people involved, right? And, you know, sex is obviously bad if it's done by manipulation or force. So there are some dynamics that our teens have to understand, that it's really all about the context surrounding a healthy expression of sex that they need to understand. And saying, and, you know, there's timing for things. And in your teenage years, not the best choice. I mean, it's just like a whole thing you can talk to them about on why sex is worth waiting for to when you can actually enjoy it as an adult, right? In the right context. So it's so important to mentor teens that as adults, they get to choose. Like someday you get to choose who you share your life with, all the things. And so we want to set a mindset very early, like, so choose wisely, right? The person you choose to share your life with, I mean, biggest decision you're ever going to make in your life. And with healthy dynamics, it can make all the struggles and hard work worth it. Great. But with unhealthy dynamics, a relationship can actually worsen those struggles. It can derail you from the path that you need to be on. And you can experience a lot of unneeded drama and pain. So we want to choose wisely the relationships that we put in our lives. And that really could be not even just relational, right? Our friends matter, but choose wisely who you let into your world and who you share your life with. So, okay, let's go now to what a healthy relationship looks like. So now that we have like this foundation set, let's talk about what it does look like. And I love starting with green flags. So you hear red flags all the time, but I like to use green flags. What are some green flags that you go, ooh, I see that in that person. Oh, I see that in that person. That actually is a person that could be a really good boyfriend or really good girlfriend. So green flags are great. And so years ago, I heard someone share this visual that when a parent's training a child to ride a bike, the parent often sees the danger ahead, right? They see this pole. And so they're, let me move this here. You know, they see the pole ahead. So they shout out, don't hit the pole, don't hit the pole. But what does the child hear? Yeah, the child hears pole. So all the child can do is look at the pole, the pole, the pole, the pole. And so it's such a crazy thing. The parent can't believe that, like, literally their kid runs right into it. They go, how did that happen? How did you run into the pole? But it's because that's the only thing that the kid heard, right? That was where the vision was set. So this. So let's focus them on the goal, right? So we'd be better to say, stay on the sidewalk, focus on that sidewalk. And then they'll actually pass the pole because they're focused on the right thing, right? So let's talk about our green flags that could indicate potential for a good dating partner, right? My dating partner is respectful, right? To you, but also to others. So encouraging your teen, like, hey, how do they treat their family? How do they treat their parents? Because they're trying to impress you right now, but you see who they treat, the people that they're actually very familiar with. So how do they treat the elderly? Like, how do they treat other people? Are they personable? That's a green flag. If they have a great personality, that's a great flag, because honestly, how many of you ever saw Winnie the Pooh with Eeyore? You know, Eeyore's cute, but he's exhausting, right? So we want people who, you know, if you're with an Eeyore, they just need a little more maturing, maybe not a good time to have a dating partner. Are they honest? Are they honest with you? But are they honest with others? Because if they're honest with others, you know, they're probably being honest with you as well. Are they motivated? Do you have a motivated person who's willing, you know, sure, especially at teenagers, like they're not who they're going to be yet, but are they willing to grow to it? And are they willing to work for a good future for themselves? And are they willing to support you towards a good future? Are they motivated people, right? Are they trusting? Are they believing the best of you? Are they believing the best of others? Are they secure? Can they enjoy personal time away from you? Or do they have to be with you all the time and you can't be out of their sight? No, if they can enjoy life with you and without you, they're very secure, right? Their happiness is not based on everything about you or you saying all the right things or doing all the right things and being perfect all the time, right? They're secure in who they are. And are they fun? Like, do you have some shared interests? Do you have activities that you can enjoy doing together? Those are all green flags. Green flags are when your dating partner demonstrates character. Are there things about that person that you admire? That's so important to respect your partner. Do you have shared values? Like, do you have the same morals? Do you believe the same things are important? That is a really, really important dynamic to a good relationship that's healthy, right? Does this person fit in well with my family? And, you know, there's a lot of dynamics around that, but, you know, it is great if you have someone who's content to hang out with your family too. Maybe you go and hang out with their family, they can come in, but it's actually a green flag because they're not nervous to be around your family. They're actually wanting to build something that has future maybe attached to it. So that's a great flag. If it lets your family members start to get to know that person too. So that's a really big green flag for our family. Next one, communicates well. Can they calmly discuss things? Are they willing to talk about things? Do they welcome my perspective? They want to hear what I have to say. Are they encouraging, you know, communicating well? Do they support me to move closer to my dreams, right? My good future. And then last, do they value reciprocity? In other words, healthy relationships, they need that, right? They need two people who are both giving and taking, right? Not two takers. You're not going to have healthy. You got to do both. You have to be able to give and you have to be able to receive. And so do they value that? A good question to ask your teen. So if someone was evaluating you as a good dating partner, how many green flags would you raise? And kind of give some, you can kind of look through them. Use that little checklist and be like, okay, great. You do so many of these things really great. I'm so proud of you. And like, okay, the ones that maybe you would flag more yellow or maybe not at all, let's work on them. Let's see what we can do to just keep developing as a person ourselves. So a lot of times in our culture, people want it. They're like, I want a 10. I really despise the number system of relegating someone's value to he's a 6, he's a 7. I do not like that at all, but using what people do these days, you know, everybody wants a 10, but like, are you working towards being a great 10? You know, so how about we have grace for others and then we also focus on working on ourselves. So let's set up our team to win with what an unhealthy relationship looks like. All right, here we go. We can get into some red flags. Now, I love to not recreate the wheel. So in preparation for today, I found this excellent red flag chart online. And it's by parenting coach Brooke Romney. And if you go to her Instagram page, I've kind of looked around a bit and I liked a lot of what I saw. I haven't watched all of it, obviously. So, you know, there's a partial endorsement there. But if you go to her Instagram page, and here it is, you can see. And if you look here, there's a second box here where she's smiling like this. I think now it's on the second level because I took this a few days ago. But if you go to that post and you comment actually, it's not red flags. You comment relationships, then she'll send you a printable version of this chart. So this is a post you could print it out. You could put it on your wall. If you're in a classroom, you could put it on your teen's bed. If you're a parent, I'd be whatever you want to do. You can print it out. So just comment relationships on there, and probably her page, you'll find lots of good stuff on there, but she'll direct message it to you. But let's read through some of these red flags. And I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone here for me because my eyes cannot see it well enough. So let me do that. Here we go. But I really liked this because she pretty much did it in the vernacular of the teen. So I liked it a lot. So she said, here are some flags, and it makes it so practical for teens to see. They don't like it when you're with your friends and family. Red flag. They want you to stop doing things you love to be with them. Red flag. They make you feel bad about your appearance or self-conscious about the way you look. They get jealous easily. They want you to hide things from the people you love or respect. Can you see all the great conversations you could have? You could literally say, hey, every day we're going to talk about one flag for 3 minutes. You are constantly worried about them and their reaction to things. Oh, how are they going to react? They bring you down. They add a lot of drama to your life. They put you in a bad mood often. Now, I would also remind our teens that our mood is within our responsibility as well. But if you're constantly in drama, it's not good. Red flag. They push you to do things that go against your standards or values, or ignore your physical boundaries. Wow, what a great flag to talk about. Oh, physical boundaries. We're supposed to have those. We're supposed to know what they are before the relationship, communicate during the relationship. But if they're trying to push past what you have put up as a healthy boundary, that's a red flag. They manipulate you, especially by making you responsible for their mental or physical health. Red flag. They want you to change in ways that only make you worse. They're violent or verbally abusive. Okay, now we've crossed into abuse. So that's not just a red flag. That's like an exit ramp. So talk to them about that. They want to keep you or your relationship a secret. Red flag. Unkind to people that matter to you, or I would say people in general. They talk bad about you to others. If they're talking bad about you to others, are they a healthy piece of your life? Like, that doesn't make any sense. They lie or pick fights and then make it your fault, and then love bomb you to force forgiveness. So these are great, really practical things you can talk about with your teens. And I actually wanted to draw attention to the bottom paragraph of the poster because she says some really powerful things down there. I'll let you potentially see it on the poster yourself. Like she says, good relationships make your life better, not worse. So that's great stuff, right? She also asserts that people aren't, there's one part I wanted to highlight is she asserts that she's like, listen, people aren't broken, it's just is what it is. But I personally, I don't agree with that statement in full. And I think that line is actually a great opportunity to have an important conversation with our teens, because in our American culture, we're such a, prosperous and maybe sometimes impatient and sometimes wasteful nation that when something's broken, like we ought a lot of times just throw it away. I'll just get another one. And we immediately throw it away and just start over. But in other cultures, like broken things are not so easily discarded and replaced. They're actually repaired, they're reused, they're even cherished, which is great. So in our culture, I think people are hesitant to say that a person is broken because we don't throw people away, right? We don't throw people away. We don't make them feel devalued in any way. But I would argue that we do have to be honest with our teens that people can absolutely have broken parts within them. I think we all work with teens and see it all the time. I mean, there are some things that young people have been through that are very difficult. They've been through some stuff, and some parts of them may have been damaged or broken, right? I mean, that is a reality. They are still intrinsically valuable. I mean, they're precious. They've just been through some stuff, right? And there are things in them that do need to be healed and repaired. And I think it's fair and almost imperative to say to your teen that, listen, you're seeing all these red flags, right? And this person, particularly if they're mistreating your teen, right? I think it's fair to say, like, this person has some broken parts of their soul and they need professional help, and they need to get some therapy, and they need to get some healing. And that is not your job. Okay. You, as a 17-year-old, as much as you care about this person, you cannot fix this. And it isn't healthy for you to take this on. How many of us know teens that are taking on things that are way above their maturity level and their area of responsibility? And it's heavy on them, and it's really not their job. And so it's not healthy for you to be in a relationship with someone with broken pieces that can't do healthy right now. I think it's fair to tell our teens and take that pressure off of them. They don't have to fix this, right? And, even when that person's willing to get help, I mean, that is so beautiful. That is the goal, right? That this person does get help. And, but sometimes there needs to be a break in that dating while the process happens. Especially this applies to teenagers who they have time in their life. There is no rush to be in a romantic relationship right now. And so it's a needed pause. It's doable. And sometimes it's imperative. And I think it's that honesty about true dynamics that can give our teen the freedom to do the right thing for everyone involved. And, particularly about these teens that we love so much, right? Because the people with genuine broken little parts of whatever that is, they're worth the focus and the attention to get the healing and the help that they need, right? They benefit from focusing on their own mental and emotional health in this season. And they're worth that focused attention in the season of healing and growth. And they benefit to do this before attempting to give into a relationship, because a healthy relationship, you have to be at least in a relatively healthy place to join in and create a healthy relationship with somebody else. So it's really best for the teen in your life to allow them to do that without sacrificing their own emotional, mental, or physical health in the process, right? There's no reason to stay in unhealthy relationships. There really isn't. And your teen needs to understand that. And of course, Path sent out an email recently about what abusive looks like. So, that's like next level of unhealthy. And that's like immediately time to get out, like this, we exit from abuse immediately. Right. And so of course, this list isn't exhaustive, but if they're communicating in a threatening way or hurtful ways, or they're mistreating you, whether that's physically, however you're being mistreated, if they're accusing you of cheating and it's not untrue, denying their actions, I'm not abusive. If they're super controlling or isolating you from other people, like these are great red flags that this is actually not just unhealthy, it's next level, it's abusive. And so you do not have to be in this relationship. And actually it's not healthy to be so, and you need to exit that immediately. So let's set them up by first helping them to avoid unhealthy relationships in the first place. Right. And maybe you could screenshot this because we're coming short on time, but being committed to what you know is right, being committed to those green flags, valuing yourself enough to heed the red ones, be friends first. It's such a great ground to actually see their personality and see in different seasons who they are, or different scenarios who they are. Go slow, be honest with the parents and mentors in your life, right? Invite those who love you to be honest with you, and let your parents be your safety net. You can throw them under the bus, let them into your world so they can see things that maybe you have blind spots about that you can't see. Like, your parents are actually your great ally and mentors that love you. We see things that maybe you don't. And if you will let us help be your safety net, it's huge. And then let's set them up to exit. If they got to exit it, they got to talk to somebody about it. They have to understand you're probably not going to stay friends. It typically doesn't work very well that way. It just doesn't work. Communicate in a safe space. Like, don't do it at their house if you have to break up, do it at your house with your dad in the next room, or public space. Don't do it when you're dependent on a ride home from them. So, be wise about this and let your mentors coach you on best ways. Journal about why it's the right choice when tempting moments come. You can withstand it and say, nope, I made the right choice. Forgive, so important, so you're not held back. Move forward and do things that help you live a full life, build for more friendships, do things you love. Life is not over just because this relationship is no longer in your life, and reach out to those that love you when it hurts. Right. And I'm going to actually come back to this if we have time, but what if our teen's in an unhealthy relationship but doesn't see it? This is what I'm going to end with, because how many know that we all know teens that they aren't unhealthy, but they don't really see it or want to see it. And so what do we do? And I love this book. So it's Counterintuitive by Tyler Durman. And it says what 4 million teenagers wish we knew. So this is a great read, whether you're a mentor in education, any capacity, business, whatever, you're working with teens. It's a great book and it's a really fun, good read. And great for parents as well. So in this, Tyler Durman is talking about this dad. He's sharing about his daughter. She used to be really close to him. Everything is great. And then suddenly she starts dating this boy. And now she's super angry, not communicative. He's not great. Like this boy is like totally changing her personality in their mind. All she does is listen to her music in her headsets and she doesn't come out. She does not care about anybody else. And it's a mess. And he's just he doesn't know what to do. Right. And what I loved is that one day the dad had a thought. And here was his thought. He realized, well, wait, maybe this boy is just the best story she knows how to live right now. And maybe we can give her a chance to find a better one. Wow, that's so powerful. Sometimes we have to give our teens opportunities to live a better story. They're living the only story that they know with their undeveloped brain and their certain level of maturity and development. Maybe we can give her a chance to find a better one. Wow. And so he said he did some research and went home and told his family, okay, we're going to raise money for an orphanage in Mexico. There are people that need us and we're going to help. So these kids lived in a dump. They were dying of disease. And he's like, why don't we do something to make a difference? And so he said, everybody in this family has to pitch in. So let's figure it out. So his son's like, oh, I like that idea. You know, I'll sell lemonade. I'll do odd jobs. I'll raise money. But it said it didn't go so well with his daughter. She got mad, said it was stupid, and slammed her door again. So he told his wife and son, well, we're going to do it anyway. So weeks went by and they were raising money, but the daughter just listened to her music. It seemed hopeless until she burst into their room one night and jumped on their bed, holding her phone without the earbuds. She said she thought she could raise money online, and but they had to go to Mexico right away so she could take pictures of the dump and the actual kids that they wanted to help. Her dad said, okay. And the next day they skipped school and work and they drove to Mexico. And on the way home, she told her dad from the back seat, a lot of times teens communicate in the car when they don't have to look in the eyes. She told her dad from the back seat that she'd broken up with the boy because he was a jerk. He had told her to lose weight. She had found her better story. He had his daughter back and they helped a lot of orphans. So I love that story because sometimes we feel a little powerless when we're not seeing our good mentoring. Like it's taking a minute to see them get it. But sometimes, right, we just have to help them find a better story and write their own story in a better way. So I hope that's encouraging you today. What you do is so important. The teens in our lives are so precious. And thank you for investing in the teens in your sphere. And thanks for being with us here today. And I hope this encouraged you.
There's only 4 or 5 of us, so doing 2 breakout rooms didn't make a whole lot of sense. So is everybody okay with doing it this way? It means we'll be done a little bit sooner. Lisa, are you good with that?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. And I apologize if I missed anybody's introductions. But that's all. I'm glad you can hear me now. I'll be quiet for a few minutes. And
well,
I lost the chat,
a little bit
though,
about
so I don't have
Betty. Maybe we can go around. Maria, do you want to explain how you work with teens, how you mentor teens?
Yeah, sure. So during the day, I work at a high school. I'm the health and social services coordinator, which is basically like the school social worker.
Wow.
So our high school, we have about 1,750 kids. It's myself and one other HSSC. That's during the daytime, and then outside of school, outside of school, I'm an LPC therapist. So I work with teens throughout the state through Perform Care, which organizes all of the behavioral and mental health services for youth.
Wow. That's amazing. What high school?
Irvington High School.
And that's located
in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. Okay. That's amazing. Lori, you want to introduce yourself and how you work with teens? Lori might went, maybe she had to grab her sandwich. Latoya, would you like to introduce yourself, how you work with teens?
Hi.
Hi.
So I work with Ms. Vasquez. So I am a high school counselor for the grades of 9 through 12. So I'm here, I serve as a capacity on the academic side, and Vasquez does the emotional part. But outside of here, I'm also a therapist. So I work with children from about 5 to 21.
Wow.
So that's the capacity for me, my service capacity.
That's amazing. That's a lot. You guys are doing a lot of things. Like, I'm not just helping teens in one way. I'm helping them in many, many ways. So that's beautiful.
Hey, Vasquez.
Hello.
Mm. So, any things from the presentation that you wanted to discuss further? Or I feel so honored. I'm like speaking to therapists. You might have wisdom for me. Are you finding like a large number of teens are dating? Or do you feel like what would you say the percentage of teens that you guys work with are dating at the teenage level?
For me, I would say dating kind of varies. From what I hear, there's a lot more just hookups kind of across the board, or dating. It might just be just talking. We're talking.
Beautiful.
Him and I are talking right now.
He snaps me.
So dating, we hear it here and there, but I would say more so just quick like conversations, some friendships, but I would say more so just kind of little like quick hookups and get-togethers, or they might be dating for a few days or a few weeks, something like that.
Okay.
I have a question, and I figured out why it was doing that. My phone like interrupted my computer and my phone was trying to connect.
Technology.
So how many of you have found, so I personally have two 13-year-old daughters who are in 8th grade, and I have a plethora of teens in my house on a regular basis, but I also work with teens on a daily basis and have been overseeing, running, and we're doing a peer-to-peer mentoring program in the school systems, addressing this topic and many others. And I also work with adjudicated youth in the juvenile detention centers around here. And I have noticed that a lot of kids tell me, including the ones that come to my house to hang out, that they're dating so-and-so. And I've even had some of them explain to me the contracts that they've put together for dating to establish boundaries, which I think is awesome. But this is all virtual dating. They don't actually end up being in the same physical space as this person. And sometimes it lasts for a few days, and some of them are lasting months. Has anybody else been experiencing this whole where the teens are dating virtually, but they don't actually get together? And what emotional impacts are you seeing from that? Or is it just me?
No, I think it happens all the time. I will even say I've got a son who's, I'm going to share, 27 years old, and met a gal playing Dungeons and Dragons who lives in Miami, and now they are engaged. She literally went to go see him for a weekend and never left. And so I'm just like, okay, y'all, that's, first of all, when I met her parents, I said, how scary was that for you when your daughter said she's going to meet some dude she met online? I just think it's nuts. Now, we'll say it seemed to work out for them, I pray. But no, a lot of times I think this is happening. Where they're meeting, and they, like I said, not really meeting though, right? I just think it's crazy, quite honestly. I guess that's not the word term I should use. But
How is that? How do we think that's it? I mean, I know a lot of adults that are dating online, and to be fully transparent, I filed for divorce a year ago because of an abusive relationship. And the whole idea of having to go back into that whole dating world, I haven't dated anyone since 1996.
I can't imagine.
So like, oh, it's all online. But I'm just wondering like the emotional impact these kids are having, because I see a large emotional their attachment. Like there's an emotional attachment, but it's all electronic. And then a lot of times they get ghosted and they're heartbroken because someone just completely ghosted them, but it's not even someone they even ever met. And I'm struggling to understand how you can have such a strong attachment to someone that you have only a lot of times FaceTimed or texted or Snapchatted with, and how is that going to impact their development of what healthy relationships look like going forward? But you're talking to somebody that used to pass notes in class that said, "Will you go out with me? Circle yes or no." So maybe not everyone on here is that old, but Lisa knows what I'm talking about.
I
I
do. Yes, I do. Yes. Yep. As a matter of fact, I forget what it was. My husband was laughing about something and he goes, "Well, I didn't want to send you a note, yes or no." So like, yes, I totally know. I think having teenagers, it's been interesting to see them walk that dynamic where so much is read into texting, or they left me unread. We didn't have to deal with any of that. Like, okay, maybe they left you unread because somebody walked in the room and they had to go work, or they had to, you know what I mean? Like there's so many reasons why, but they could have just liked it, or they could have, all these dynamics that used to not be there at all. So I'll be interested to see what, some of you on this call who have, training as a therapist or whatever, what you think those things are. But I think what it just shows us as mentors is that we have to actively build space and environments for our teens to learn real things in real scenarios that aren't virtual, because it's just so easy to do it virtually. My one daughter, for reasons we decided that she wasn't ready to have Snapchat. And she said, "Well, that's how everybody plans stuff. That's how everyone connects. That's how, and I'm like, you know what? The people that are truly your friend, they'll text you." And you know what? Sure enough, they did. And it all worked out, but it was scary to her at first. She's like, "I'm going to be left out. I'm not going to know. I'm not going to whatever." And we're like, you know what? You guys will figure it out. And they did. But as parents, you got to look at the benefits of Snapchat versus this one little, or the reasons that I don't want you to have one benefit. So I was like, listen, I get it. I understand that. I totally see it's harder, but it's okay. You guys are creative. You're going to make it happen. But just seeing all these dynamics we didn't have to deal with, like people having entire conversations only via text and trying to conflict resolve via text, right? That's not the healthiest choice. You can't hear voice inflection. You can't see their face. You can't hug them afterwards. You can't, so I do think as mentors, we have to continually remind them of ways to do it healthy and how to manage the virtual world. So they're not living entirely in the virtual world, because that's actually not healthy. If all your dopamine hits are just from virtual, I mean, it's kind of like when looking at porn, right? It rewires your brain so that now when you're physically with a person, you can't perform. That's not healthy. That's not good. So they have to understand that these things have real dynamics, and we can choose to be different. But yeah, the whole stream is going so virtual. What do you guys think?
So I recently had a similar conversation with my daughter about Snapchat. She also is not allowed to have TikTok. And the thing that I found to be really helpful, because we were preparing materials on sexting for work, for a session, and we looked up all the policies and things on the different social medias that are most popular, and having that information and background from looking at what their policies are, how information is collected, not collected, what's done with it, how it can be used, how it can be accessed, was a really helpful tool in explaining to my daughter why she wasn't ready for Snapchat and how it could be really hurtful to her in the end right now and not helpful. And I mean, a lot of these scare me. There's a huge sex industry on Snapchat, and how easily, I mean, I have Snapchat and it gets used for different groups, but I'm constantly getting invitations from people I've never even heard of or known. And that is a scary thing, that my 13 and 14-year-old could be like, "Oh, okay." And then they start talking to this person. They have no idea who it is, and not being able to regulate that as much. And so but being able to take those policies and procedures from different social medias, that actually helped me to get her to understand. And obviously I broke it down because they're complicated, but she stopped, she didn't argue. She was like, oh, okay, I didn't think about it that way. And her friends do, they text her and they FaceTime. And that was the same discussion we had with her, is if they really are your friends, they're going to talk to you either way.
I think what's so hard too is that these kids are not learning how to have these conversations. And so, like, I remember my kiddo having some kind of an issue. I said, well, just, I was like, so-and-so's not texting me back. And I said, well, honey, call them, actually have the phone ring and have a conversation. But then, like, mom, that's weird. They literally do. I have kids who come in with these issues and I'm like, have you talked to your friend? They don't know what to say. They just don't talk to each other. And that is such an important skill. I mean, half the time I'm trying to teach kids how to talk to your teachers. I understand, such and such happened. Let's role play how that conversation might look. But things that we all, like you said, we had the teen line. You'd get on the phone, you'd call your friend and want to talk for hours on end until you had to get off. I don't think they do much of that.
Well, let's be honest. It's way, it's more non-threatening.
Yeah.
It's less threatening, I guess. So it's less threatening to text someone something than to meet for coffee, right? So I feel like our whole society is a generation. If you are just out and about, people cannot stand to be bored. If they feel awkward, they're on their device. Like, literally, you hardly see somebody just sitting in a cafe by themselves, looking around or making, whatever. They're typically on a device because they're like, I'm going to get something done. If I'm going to be by myself, I might as well check my emails. And, it's not bad in itself, but people aren't used to awkward and pushing through awkward feelings and being content with themselves, that, like, I can have conversations with people. I know, even coaching my own kids, there have been times where I'm like, listen, when you want to talk about something important, don't even do it on the phone. Like I got my kids on the phone doing it. They're actually talking to their friends or whatever. But I'm like, guys, honestly, you got to do it in person, especially in romantic relationship. Like, it's not healthy to get in a fight over the phone where somebody can hang up and then, like, you don't resolve it and everybody's mad, when you could have just had a conversation face to face. Anytime you're introducing virtual, you get a step away from accountability. So, right. Like, you can write anything online anonymously, right? Whoa, that's no accountability. Or they know it's from you, but you can just send it and let it sit. So I feel like our teens are learning all these new social rules that aren't very healthy. A lot of game playing. Well, you know what? He left me a red. I'm going to leave him on red. I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, like, this shouldn't even be a thing. Like, this is that you're playing games that aren't helpful. This is not healthy, right? But that's kind of how kids are starting. They're creating this whole virtual world of interactions that are not necessarily healthy. Now, all that to say, technology can be really helpful. I'm not anti-technology at all. I think there's some great things. I know, having moved away from family, FaceTime's been like a game changer for us. We feel like we do hang out with grandpa and grandma because we're like seeing them. And I think there's great connections. And I do think in this world, you could have a long distance relationship where you're FaceTiming and you feel connected to that person. But ultimately, it's a kind of a substitute to the real thing. And we need to always be driving them towards healthy things. There's a really good book called Artificial Maturity. I just happen to have it sitting here on my thing, but it's called Artificial Maturity, Helping Kids Meet the Challenges of Becoming Authentic Adults. And he kind of has a really good part. It's Tim Ellsmore, but he has and this is not new. This is not a new book, but he has a really good part where he talks about kids having this disconnect with virtual things. So in other words, they are really good at video games, let's say, and they capture the flag and they win the game. They're amazing. Nobody can beat them. And they have, so he calls it, it's high arrogance, low self-esteem. So they feel so good at it. They're like, I am so good at this. But at the end of the day, deep down, they know they didn't really climb a mountain. They didn't really capture anything. They just did it like virtually. So they have this low self-esteem that I really can't accomplish real things. And so I feel like it's kind of like that with communication or whatever. People are like, yeah, I'm really great. But deep down, they know, like, well, if I went on a date and had to sit at a table with somebody, I would not know what to do. And so they have these conflicting emotions of I'm awesome and I'm like totally insufficient. So we have to give them as many real life, you know, I just had a girl, she's 23 and I was talking to her the other day and she's so nervous because she's never been on a date and she has a date Thursday. She's like, I've never been on a date with a person like sat down with him, you know? And so I got to coach her a little bit, like, it'll be fine. You're going to do great. You just go be yourself and enjoy your coffee. Like, don't make it too hard. But there's a whole generation of kids that they've only connected with people online. And we have to give them as many actual real experiences to get some reps in and some real stuff, because otherwise it's easy to do online. It's comfortable. But it
Well, I
doesn't.
also notice, can I interrupt you? The whole online, like even when they're physically together, they're still on their phones and they're texting each other in the same room. And I'm like, you guys are sitting right here, open your mouths and talk. You
And
don't
that's
have to
where
be
the
text-
mentors
and they're all staring at a
mentors in
phone.
the mentors in the environment have to do what's best for them. So we have phone jail. So we're like, just put it up on the mantle, guys. You can check it anytime you want, but you're here, might as well be here.
Right.
And it's like, okay. And I don't even do it unless it's a problem. Like I don't make anybody do that until my kid comes to me and goes, I want to play games, but like they're all on their phones. Like I'm trying to get them to play games. And I'm like, yeah, I'm hosting. You're eating my food. I'm hosting you. We're having fun. So I think it's fair. My house, my rules. If I notice that's happening, I'm like, hey guys, you're over there. Why don't you guys put them up there and you guys go play a game? And then they will. They're playing cards. They're having the best time ever. They just needed to be reminded. And honestly, over the years, they've kind of gravitated to friends who are more like-minded. So I haven't had to do that in forever because they're actually over to be together. So sometimes as mentors, you got to set the expectation and then enforce it and in a happy way. And
So we do an 8th grade trip to DC, and of course, no phones, and it's usually the parents who squawk more than anything. And we just have to also train them that we promise. If like we had a kid who had her mom had a birthday while they were gone, we said, well, you know what, if you want to call her and wish her happy birthday, just let us know. Somebody will let you use their phone. And when they come back from that trip, that's something they say over and over because nobody has a phone, and they enjoy. They all talk about how initially they were worried about it, but how much they love it. How what a great time. I'm sure they probably all went back to them on Monday, but at that point in my school, we don't have them. I've been here for 12 years. I've never seen it physically, never seen a phone. Now, do some kids
Amazing.
maybe have one turned off in their backpack? Well, sure. I'm quite sure plenty of them do, but we also have this whole wait till, they go to high school program that's gotten a lot of traction and a lot of, I would say maybe half the parents are doing it. But it's all been really, really good. And I think they realize, but honestly, I think sometimes as adults, we also need to be reminded, are we checking the phone? Do we have the phone at the table when we go to dinner? Are we, having conversations, just all the different things, what we show them what a healthy relationship looks like, whether it's with other peers, with food, whatever, with the comments we make. It's so much. I had somebody come in and talk with my girls about just healthy body image stuff, and so much of it. And she also talked to the parents, and it's like, someone says, "You look great." Oh, I did 15 pounds ago. Or do you want some bread? I wish I could have the bread. I mean, we do it all the time. So, and I know I'm one of the worst with my phone. I know it. I know I'm addicted to it. If I don't have it, I want to know when I'm going to have it. So when, I'm thinking about it constantly, and that's addiction, right? I mean, it just is.
well, we kind of have our whole world on there, right? We're like, what if I miss a text or
Yeah.
an emergency or whatever? But at the end of the day, how many have driven in your car without your phone
Oh,
recently?
and as soon as I do, and my not on purpose, I go nuts.
Yeah, I panic. If
I
I
did
left
this
the
other day, I'm
house,
like, wow, I'm off grid. So good thing I know where I'm going because I use my GPS.
And then do you
so
feel
heavily.
happy about it? Because I think, Betty, that's ridiculous. It's good for you. You don't have it. You'll be fine. But I
I've
have to
gotten that way
self-talk.
too about my Apple Watch. Like, oh my gosh, I left the house. I'm not going to know when, because I silence all my phones. I have 2 phones. I silence my phones, but they're connected to my watch. So if something does happen, my watch buzzes. So I still know what's going on,
Yes.
but I don't have to be looking at the phone. And I left the house without my watch the other day, and I was in panic, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to know when the phones are going off.
Isn't it? Yeah. Well, of
Feel
course,
the
it's
same
one thing
way,
if it's
phone
for
or
work.
watch.
Yeah.
As
So,
adults,
yeah,
we're
we're
learning
just
our
as
own
bad.
boundaries.
Yeah.
But And I apologize. The other question I put in there was, how do you coach your teens on exit strategies? I know a number of you are working with teens in a variety of environments and settings and age groups. We do an entire session on exit strategies in a number of our programs for both middle school and high school. And I just worked on putting together a session where we talked about how to break up, essentially, and what are healthy and unhealthy ways on breaking up, and what are the impacts to the person socially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all five of those, and created an activity out of it. And actually, it's being tested today with the kids. But we see so many of them hurt in our programs and our mentoring because so and so just stopped talking to them, or so and so broke up with them on a text, or so and so told their friend to text them about it. And so what kind of exit strategies are you guys seeing? Are kids just ghosting, or are they actually having those conversations, and how do you encourage them to have those?
I haven't worked with it on the dating side. I've done a lot on friendship stuff, on helping kids understand how to have, but not necessarily dating relationships.
Okay.
Mine are in middle school, so it's less.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Oh,
That's
middle school
really
is
good
still in
question.
there.
Yeah.
I don't really think I've honestly done much with breaking up. I usually hear about the after effects after they've been broken up with, or they've stopped talking to this person, or they were ghosted by this person. And then we usually wind up processing what happened that way, and talking about the pros and cons of the relationship, and just kind of trying to identify what lessons you learned, how it affected you socially, mentally, and bring that into the next friendship, or the next relationship that you're going into. But that's a really good question, because now like with my therapy sessions, I have transition sessions when services are getting ready to end. I'll prepare the youth for services ending that way, but actually preparing and working with youth on kind of exit strategies for breaking up and things like that. I honestly, I don't really think I've done much in that area yet. That is a
The
really
most
good
of
thing to
our
think about,
programming
though.
on exit strategies is getting how to get out of like a risky, uncomfortable, unsafe
That
situation.
makes sense.
But it's not, they end up at a party and there's drinking and there's drugs and they don't have a ride home. How do they get out of it? Who do they call? What do they do? Someone offers them something, someone takes them somewhere. They're not, all of those sessions on exit strategies are not based on a personal romantic relationship per se. Some of them are talking about people approaching you and wanting to have sexual intercourse, but there's still not that romantic piece in there and that emotional piece. So that's what we've been trying to create and develop right now, something to help the teens, because we just see so much struggle with them in the high schools that we work with. So
just
and a lot of
overall,
that leads
get
to
out
all
of
this other.
unhealthy, uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. All right. Did anyone else have any thoughts on anything that we were discussing today? Any questions? Anything else you would like to know from Lisa?
Lisa, I'd love your contact information if you can, include it in the chat or something.
Okay.
And Lisa, will you be sharing any of those slides with us when we send out the follow-up for this presentation?
Okay, I'm sorry. What was that?
We send a follow-up out after the lunch tables.
Typically, it was
Um,
just like the video, because then they
okay.
can screenshot, right? I think you send, yes?
Yep. Okay. And I know I wrote down the what is it? Brooke Romney writes. I want to go and look and see what she has on there. I really liked the red flags. We do
She
a
has
lot with
quite a
red
large
flags.
following. I think she's over 100.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay, here we go. I'm trying to, I think she has quite a following, so. think you'll find some good
And if anybody else needs any contact information, either for Path or for Lisa, you can also reach out to us at the info@positiveteenhealth.org. I'll throw that in the chat real quick. And you could also go to our website. And we could always reconnect you with Lisa or any of the other presenters that we've had. All right,
Yeah,
any
I'm
other
not seeing-
questions?
Yeah, okay, there it is. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I put
we're,
my email on there. That's probably just the easiest. Betty. Well, thank you everybody for all your hard work, because as we're talking, there's a lot of teens that just need a lot of support, and they're not always getting the upfront mentoring. And so you're doing the hard work of the back end cleanup and redirecting and resetting understanding. And so I love that you're supporting parents too, to maybe a lot of parents, honestly, we live in San Diego and it's like expensive. So you've got two parents working crazy hours, and a lot of parents, they have the best intentions. They're really trying, but maybe they're not necessarily reading, parenting books that are giving them strategies and all that kind of stuff. So they're just kind of in survival mode and doing the best they can. So thank you for putting good resources in their hands and supporting the parents and working to really help these kids.
And I love that you come from the whole thing with sex is bad, being honest with kids. And I love that, because if you don't start there, you can't have we can't ask them to be honest with us if we're not going to be honest with them. And
100%.
so in treating them like they do have choices and brains and decisions to make. And that's, I think you make so much more of an impact when you have that kind of an attitude. Even if your attitude is you want them to be absent, whatever, be honest about things, and then, move on from there. So I love that.
Yeah. If you'll be honest about all the dynamics, right? Okay. Like, yep, sex feels good. That's what people do it, da, 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 da. But here's other dynamics. So now you can kind of look at all of it together and make good choices, because that's true, but it's still going to be true later. It's going to be great later.
Yep.
And by waiting, you get all these benefits. And so if you're just dismissive of things, they actually feel, I think, loved and respected, that you can talk about the tough stuff.
Or
And
even like you said, where you don't want it to be negative, because at some point in their life, it is appropriate and it's a beautiful thing. And you don't want it to be like it's a negative, that it's a negative thing, because it's not. In the right aspects, it's wonderful. So I love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciated all of it. And I absolutely will be writing your info down, and I'll be looking for those, like you said, the slide and everything. Thank you, Donna, also for your
Thank you,
part.
Betty. Appreciate you being here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a nice afternoon.
Thanks. Bye, Maria.